Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hope you guys have had a great day. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite books, known as The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great day. Continuously be awesome. Be better today. Be better tomorrow, and continuously work to be a better entrepreneur. Take care. How goes the fam? Today we're going to be talking about The 4-Hour Work Week. Definitely one of my favorite books. Definitely a book that I could put up there with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Powernomics. The list goes on and on with some of my favorite books that are out there. Mark Cuban's book, Elon Musk's book. I mean, this is, top notch, top shelf book when it comes to changing your life. And when it comes to reading, I love two things about reading. I love to learn, and I love books that are life changing. This book brings into perspective of how the new rich live throughout the world, not just the United States, but throughout the world. The author is Tim Ferriss, and he is definitely a person that is very inspirational. They say he's controversial at times, but hey, I'm all for anybody who's written a footprint detailed step-by-step plan to encourage and enable people to join the new rich. And the new rich consists of not only people who have companies, but the new rich are people who work for or other organizations, but they have a lifestyle to where that they have a more of a mobile lifestyle, and they don't really ever, for the most part, have to go to the office. And if they do, it's usually like a once or twice a month sort of thing. This book really talks about how it shows how people can be way more productive by being in another specific area instead of just working a regular mundane 9 to 5, go working in the office, go sitting in traffic, staying late hours, and being surrounded by people that they don't particularly care for, and working on projects they don't even particularly care for. It's like, this book touches it all. Tim Ferriss, like I said, he's a guy that he's a technological mogul, investor. He's in the advisor. He's worked for companies like Uber, Facebook, Shopify. The list goes on and on. Over 50 companies, probably over 100 companies at this point. The book was written in 2007. And obviously, that was a hard time for the United States and the world, really, when it comes from an economic perspective. But this book came out kind of at the perfect time, I think, because it was a time that people knew that they had to start doing things differently. Making money had to be more than just going to college and getting a job, And if you don't believe in those signs, then just look at today's society that we're in. No matter where you live at in the world, and making a living and making a life is becoming harder and harder to obtain. And that's one thing I love about the book, because it talks about being rich from a different perspective. Not just being rich in an old school fashioned way where you have millions and billions of dollars, but being rich in love, being rich in life, being rich with your friends, being rich with your family, being rich with having more time. Because with the whole thing with retirement that we have, is that work 30, 40, 50 years, and then when your golden age years come, then you're able to enjoy a lot more time, but you don't have as much energy as you do when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. And that's the crazy thing. At the end of the day, I wish that people would try to just look at this book. You have a lot of naysayers out there that won't engage with how this lifestyle, 4-hour work week lifestyle works. And I get it. It's a new concept. Nothing wrong with that. But we should always be willing to engage and try new different things in this life, because if you don't, a lot of times you just end up missing the boat. I mean, who wouldn't want more time with their family and friends? Who wouldn't want more time to travel? I know I do. And that to me, that's becoming a part of the new rich. It's not about the money. It's about the time and the location. Having more options, because when you have more time and you have the same amount of money, you can have more options. Just like when you don't have as much time, but you have a lot more money. If you do the right thing with that money, then you can have a lot more options. That all goes hand in hand. But I'd rather have the time than the money, because if I had more of the time, then I could put that time into making more money from other locations and not being bothered just having a regular mundane 9 to 5. And that's just one way to look at it, and one way to really just put it in perspective, because, a lot of people want to be rich. A lot of people, will do their darndest to have the best paying jobs, but half the time those people hate their jobs and they're very disengaged at their jobs. And this is one of the main reasons why a lot of millennials do not just want to work for regular corporations or regular government organizations. When it comes to this, whether, like I said, whether it's public, whether it's private. Why? Because they don't want to be stagnated in their, not only their careers, but they don't want to be stagnated in their lives. And I always ask people, I don't tell them, I ask them, if you had an option to change your life right now, what would you do? And don't just say money, because money is the easiest thing to just say. What would you do if you could make the same amount of money now, but you had more time? What would you do? How would you spend that time? And those are questions I think that everybody should ask themselves every now and then. I always say, do that self-evaluation, because you have a lot of instances where you have a lot of employees, meaning i.e. team leaders, bosses, supervisors, etc., who treat their employees like children. And, you're dealing with adults. I remember it was 13 years ago, I was at a job and there was a supervisor there. She was just so unprofessional. And it was pretty bad. And it was so bad to the point where she would she would literally walk from her cubicle around the corner to her employees and just stand there for 20 to 30 minutes watching them, like these are all adults, looking at them, over them like children, to make sure that they were doing their work. Now, even back then, this is 2005, you had automated systems back then to where you could see the productivity of what your employees were doing. But you still have supervisors that still conduct work like that. I've worked under people like that, and I just like, this is ridiculous. The micromanaging nonsense. Basically, a lot of people are tired of that. They don't want to be babysitted. They just want to be able to do their jobs and be left alone. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't really want to address. But like I said, this book talks about that from an employee perspective. It talks about things from a passive income perspective, because a lot of times, people, that's what I love about the book. There's a mixture of talking about passive income and talking about people who are working jobs, but they're just putting their job on autopilot, and they're taking their job from a virtual perspective. Because one of the things I love the most about the book is that it talks about how a lot of employees take the initiative. They go to their bosses, and to me it was just a crazy concept, because it's like, I just never would think of to do something like this. It's not like it's abnormal, but it's just, to me, it would seem crazy, but I think it's awesome. People will go to their bosses and they would actually say, hey, look, hypothetically speaking, we'll say the guy's name is Jake. Hey, Jake, I don't feel like I'm as productive as I could be, and I like to propose somewhat of a new thing in regards to me having the option to work from home. And just let me try at least once or twice a week, and let me show you how my productivity could increase, and we can make the customers happy or other parts of the company happier if you allow me to work from home. Because then I won't have to be bogged down with the regular calls from customers and the minute office conversations, etc., and so forth. And in the book, a lot of times the bosses would be like, I don't know about that, because, obviously back even during that time, today you still have a lot of employers that won't do it. So back during those days, I could just imagine you had a lot of bosses like, I don't like that idea, because it doesn't coexist with the old way of doing business. But some bosses gave in and they said, okay, well, let's give it a shot. We'll try it on a temporary basis. And they did, and they saw that the productivity of their employees increased. They didn't stagnate, they weren't stagnated, and they did not decrease. It increased tremendously. And then it just got to the point, and even other certain situations. I remember in the book, like one employee, he really went automated, and he said he would leave he would have notes on his desk saying, I'm at the bathroom, or give me a call, or email me, or instant message me. If you really need me. Instead of, he got it to the point where he was working from home or working from overseas, and this one didn't even like have a discussion with his boss. He just basically said, hey, I'm not at my desk, just contact me via email or telephone if it's really important, And then he just basically, in a sense, trained everybody in his office to contact him that way. And he would say, "Oh, I'm out at the coffee shop." When they, obviously he was lying. I'm at the coffee shop, or I'm in the bathroom, or I'm in an important meeting right now with a client. But they never saw his productivity stagnate or go less. They saw the improvement and the increase in the productivity to his work performance. And that's just, like I said, another crazy concept. Who would have knew that somebody would have thought of something like that? But people do it. And that's the thing that the book talks about. I love that, the work from home mentality. I think a lot of people would love to be able to work from home just because they don't have to worry about getting dressed up, wasting gas, wear and tear in the vehicles. The car industry would probably, if everybody had that option, obviously, the car industry would hurt tremendously. But, the book also talks about how, a lot of old school bosses are actually getting on board with this phenomenon. I love it, and the book talks about time management, how we need to forget about time management altogether, because when we wake up, especially if you live in a rat race like the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, time is everything. Time is money. Time is everything. If you live in a place like this all over the country or the world, that time is everything when it comes to just going to work, coming home, getting your children, trying to meet up with people. And a lot of times it can just be exhausting to where all you want to do is just go in your house and relax, not be bothered. But the book talks about automation is the key to a more successful and yet less stressful lifestyle. That's one thing I loved about this book. It talked about people increasing their happiness, still staying productive, but not doing the mundane, normal 40-hour work week. That's the whole purpose. It's a 4-hour work week instead of a 40-hour work week. Most people are not working 40 hours. That's just what it is. There's always going to be downtime at any job, no matter where you are. Nobody's actually working 40 hours. So why do people? So it's like if you're working, especially if you're working in a white collar job where you're constantly on the internet, sending out emails, video conferencing, talking to people on the phone. It's like, why do you really need to be at your office? Because the funny thing is, the book talks about a lot of freedom and liberation. And since the book was written in 2007, that was back during the world financial economic downturn, and it affected people all over the world, especially here in the United States, but affected a lot of people, and a lot of companies, with the ones that were able to bounce back, a lot of them, they downsized in space. And a lot of them, financially, it just made more sense for them to even be sustainable and survive. A lot of them had to have less employees, one, and then two, even the ones that needed the increase in employees because of the increase in demand, the demand that they had in regards to selling the products, they actually had more and more people that they were contracting out, but these people were working all over the world, or they were just working from their home. And they were saving a lot of money and time, but they were saving a lot of money by not having to, buy the normal big corporate buildings that they'd have to buy. They just have like a little small office someplace, and because most of the workforce never even came into their office, that all communications was via telephone, via VTC, via email, or automated system, and I just thought that was just awesome, because that's the new wave of corporations that are just going to come into existence, because nobody wants that old-fashioned corporate culture anymore. A lot of people won't even work in the corporate America because they can't stand the idea of just going, having to wear a suit, travel, commute someplace, and to work so hard because they're worried about getting fired, or work so hard to get a promotion that they never even get. It, like I said, that to me, that's real. This book heavily insists on the utilization of technology, which is obviously a beautiful thing, and automating your life. So in order for you to put it on, I love how Tim puts it, auto cash pilot, so that you can have a passive income. Because for me, autopilot cash income is, rental properties, wholesaling, and my online sales business that I have with Shopify. I sell multiple variety of products, from men's and women's clothes, to jewelry, to makeup, to hats, to shoes, to sneakers, dress shoes, the whole nine, the boots for females. That's a thought of passive income. That's a way of passive income. I think that's awesome, and the book also gets into the thing that I love the most. It's called Mini Retirements. you know. And that's a concept that, first time I ever heard of it reading this book, mini retirement. I was saying, so what the heck is a mini retirement? Because it's like mini retirement basically gets into the meat, the meat and potatoes of a mini retirement is basically, when you look at most rich people like the Zuckerbergs, the Mark Cubans, the Bill Gates, they don't stop working. That's the thing, because they were not bred to just work a job and then retire from that job after 30 or 40 years. They still work today, even though they don't have to. They have enough money to the Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the richest man on the planet. Okay, or one of the richest men on the planet. He does not have to work, but he still does. One, he loves what he does. Elon Musk, they love what they do. Okay, and it doesn't feel like work to them. And they're at a point in life to where they only work on things that they actually enjoy doing. And I think that's cool. To have the power to say, I just want to work on the things I want to do. Damon Dash is the same way. Because if it's not fun, they're like, look, I work to the point where I only want to work on things that I actually like to do and things that are actually fun to them. So it doesn't even feel like work anymore. They work on different projects. They give back. The list goes on and on. And eventually I would love to get to that point in my life at the same time. But I just love the fact that they say this, because it's just, when you're doing that, you're doing work that matters. That's the thing. But the whole concept of mini retirements is they take a month or 2 months off to a year off from not even working. Or they're going to hang out in Singapore, or they're going to hang out in Japan for a month to a year. They don't even worry about what's going on back at the office, because if there's an issue, that somebody can call them or email them, etc. and so forth. They have their cash flow on autopilot. It's a crazy concept. It could work. It's actually that it does work. But a lot of people they can't even think about that. They can't even fathom that. And a lot of times I can't, because I haven't experienced it, but I try to. And that's the thing, that this book, it just opens your mental to that place to where you need to think and live outside of the mundane 1985 box. And the thing is, it's like being able to take these mini vacation, it reduces a lot of anxiety that people feel because worrying about raises and promotions. If you build a life you don't have to vacation from, if you have a life that you don't have to worry, that you're not up to your ears in debt, then you don't even have to worry about getting a raise or a promotion. Because in the sense, if you have enough assets, raise and promotion doesn't mean anything, because your assets are consistently growing. And I think that's an awesome thing that a lot of people don't talk about, because there's a saying that I post on Facebook all the time. It says that salary they give you is an excuse for you to forget your dreams. And it's the truth. A salary that workers get is powerful, because it's your livelihood. But if you didn't have to worry about that salary, think how powerful your life would really be. That's what 4-hour work week comes into play. And even when you have more time, you can put that more time into other things in order for you to build assets to the point where you could just say, I love my job, so I'm going to keep it and still work from a virtual capacity. Or I'm done with my job, I'm ready to do something else, and I got enough assets to back up, supplement the income, or even increase my income to the point where I don't need this job anymore. That's the thing. Doing things that matter, spending the time with people that matters. And then another thing, I talk about this all the time, a lot of Americans and Europeans are working in third world countries from a virtual perspective, so they can make, from an American perspective, they can make to $35,000 to $40,000 and live in a third world country. I won't name anyone specific, but then that's like making $200,000 to $300,000 and living in Mississippi. You will be rich. You will be rich. Just it's point blank and simple. You're living high off the hog, and obviously, if you do it right, you won't have to worry about huge debts or anything of that nature. So that's one thing I love about the book, the 4-hour work week. After reading this book, like I said, I realized one thing: the whole virtual assistants. They call them VAs. Love it. Virtual assistants, it's basically, in a sense, you have a company, it's successful, but it's getting too big to the point where you are spending too much time working on it, and or it's big enough to the point where you can still do it all by yourself, but you want the whole purpose of you creating your own company is so that you can have more free time. So you get virtual assistants from a reputable company or companies, and you build the right relationships with them, working relationships with them, so that they can take a lot of the work off of the table for you, so that you can actually work only 4 hours a week. That's the beauty of this book, and that's the beauty of working smarter, not harder. That's an old saying that will never go out of style, in my personal opinion. That's one of the reasons why I love this book, because it shows CEOs how to not work so hard and pawn off the work. Well, not pawn off, just give the work to other people who are willing to do the work. Pay them decent, pay them well, and then that just allows you to have more time to do what you want to do or what you need to do, but you have a less stressful life. I love the saying in this book, and I will make sure that I read this carefully. Everything that's popular is wrong. And I say it again, everything popular is wrong. As I always say, it's like you're not in high school anymore. You're not trying to sit at the cool kids table. If it seems popular, for the most part, it might be wrong. Meaning, a lot of stuff from the old way of doing business, of just working a regular 9-to-5 job, or just regular processes and procedures from an analog perspective and not a digitized, automated perspective, is wrong. We live in an automated digital age, and there's a lot of people that don't want to get on board with that, and that's why a lot of organizations, from the public and the private, remain stale and stagnated and not progressing to the fullest potential that they could be. It's a sad thing. You can't automate everything, but there's certain things you can do in order for an office or any company to run more effectively and more smoothly. That's all I'm saying. I love that, because a lot of people have this go with the flow mentality. And a lot of times it's not, because that's what's popular. But a lot of times it's not the best thing to do for your life. And then you always got to say, well, what is this going to do to change the outcome of your life, your certain circumstances that you have in your day-to-day life? That is the question I always have, And when it comes to the execution of a lot of things, change it up. If it's mundane and the same, change it up. It could be unconventional. Just make sure that it's ethical, and change it up and see what happens, because you never know. By doing that, it might indicate that you're doing things totally wrong, one, or you're making more work than you need to make for yourself, and you need to try another method. Change is always a beautiful thing for the most part. And one thing that Tim states is having the many retirements gives you more time to relax with your and have more relax with your family, one, and the production when it comes to your work, whether it's your business or somebody else's business, shall increase. Less is not laziness. The minimalist movement, love it. The new rich enjoy engaging in contributions and results, not utilizing a lot of their time. Just working. They utilize their time handling business and getting things done, and I love it. And it talks about the good old saying called relative income, because I talked about passive income. Passive income, the best example I always use is real estate. You buy real estate, you get rental cash flow from it, and whether somebody is whether they are actually paying your mortgage off, or you bought the house in cash to the point where they're just paying you whatever amount of money that you set forth, but you're not working for it. All you got to do is take care of the place and ensure that you get the rent on time. That's passive income. Relative income is just as important, because it's more important than absolute income, or as I like to call absolute income, earned income. Relative income basically is a measure of both time and money. For example, it's a person working 10 hours a week, but they make $10,000 that week. And they're even richer than the person that works 80 hours a week or every 2 weeks and gets paid $100,000 a year. You do the math on that one. That's the beauty of relative income compared to passive income, compared to earned income. You're putting a certain amount of hours in, but the amount of money that you're getting for those little amount of hours that you're getting, totally out of this world, compared to most people. So I end this video off with this. Remember this phrase known as YOLO. You only live once. And if you're constantly just giving your time to a company or an organization, and they're not making you feel great about yourself when you wake up in the morning, and you're constantly taking trips to get away from them, if you haven't read this book, read it. It will change your life, because it has definitely changed mine. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. please share it. And thanks to all my subscribers. I'll see you guys next time.